All right, stupid clickbait video, but I've been thinking about this, and I know you have too. Was the Trump shooter's AR build based or cringe? Thomas Crooks looks like he just logged out of Hop's Discord right before he tried unsuccessfully to assassinate former President Trump. Right after gun guys did what gun guys do, and that is zoom, enhance every picture of the rifle out there, hit Control F on every news article to search for the character's AR dash to see if we could get any specs on the build. But this week, FBI, they finally released the pics and the deets, so we get to talk about the pros and cons of the presidential assassination attempt min-max budget build, and maybe have some fun while we're doing it. I know there are people out there saying, oh my God, a former president and current presidential candidate was almost shot, and you want to talk about the shooter's AR build. Yes, that is correct. It's so tone deaf. Yes, I am. And so are you, because you're still here watching. So let's get down to business now that we know we're both sick fucks. We're going to talk about the rifle itself, then the accessories. First, many of you who may not know a lot about guns may not know that AR-15s are very easy to build piece by piece, meaning that it's possible to have an AR-15 where every single piece is made by a different manufacturer, or you can have an AR-15 where every single component in that gun is made by one manufacturer. Legally speaking, the manufacturer is the company that makes the lower receiver, because the lower receiver is the component that bears the serial number. The FBI called this gun a DPMS, but it could have just been the lower, based on the shooter's age, skill level, which we'll talk about later, and from looking at context clues from the other components he selected, willing to bet that this is probably a complete DPMS lower. That would be the lower receiver and the mechanical components in the lower, probably all DPMS, other than the Magpul stock and grip. And I believe this was an Aero Complete upper. That's the upper receiver, the barrel, the handguard. I say that because this is a budget build. The shooter didn't seem particularly good at guns, so I would be surprised if he's building out a bespoke rifle for himself. He probably bought a cheap complete lower, a cheap complete upper, popped them together, which takes about 5 to 10 seconds, and he's done. I don't think DPMS has ever been bad. They just aren't very good. 20 years ago, DPMS was what PSA is today in terms of perceived quality. Decent, cheap, generally respected, but looked down upon by the more elite because poor people buy them and think that gives them posting privileges in the AR-15 subreddit. Ironically, DPMS started in Minnesota in 1985, was wrapped up in a Freedom Group with Remington and Bushmaster in 2007, and is now owned by, you guessed it, Palmetto State Armory. Generally speaking, I've never had a problem with the Big D. I even have a Becker, Minnesota Form 4 LE marked SBR lower. More recently, I bought a brand new Freedom Group era complete DPMS heavy barrel AR-15 for $400 or $500. I managed to shoot 1-inch groups with it at 100 yards, outshooting my BCM that cost 3 times as much. That's outstanding accuracy for an AR-15. But that said, accuracy primarily going to be a product of the upper. I'd bet this is an Aero upper. This rifle's equipped with an Aero R1 handguard, which is an outstanding handguard for the money. I doubt the shooter bought the handguard and then installed it himself on a different upper. He probably bought an assembled complete Aero upper with the barrel and handguard for $400. Not very much money. In terms of the rifle itself, could be worse. Probably $700, $750 with a complete lower, complete upper, plus a cheap bolt carrier group and a budget charging handle. A DPMS lower with an Aero upper, decent poverty build that should definitely be a 2 MOA gun, maybe even better with the right ammo. According to news reports, the shooter was about 150 yards from his target, knew the range after checking it the day before, maybe the day of. Frankly, with an AR-15 and iron sights, this should be a chip shot. At a non-magnified optic, should be even easier. The shooter used a Holosun AEMS, which is a non-magnified optic. I got to use a prototype AEMS before it was released to the market at an H&K MP5 operator course. I thought it was a perfectly fine optic for something in the $300 to $500 range like it is. It's still a Chinese optic, but as many of us know, Holosun is as good or better than many American budget brands at this point, so not bad, but probably not the best choice. If I know I have to take a 150-yard shot and I want to make absolutely sure that I don't miss, but I'm on a budget, I would spend the $350 to $500 on a good loopholed magnified optic instead. You got about 15 choices of optic at that price range, but I would just go with something relatively low magnification with very forgiving eye relief. But then again, This really shouldn't have been difficult with a properly zeroed red dot. By way of example, this is a video of me hammering a 5'8" tall man at 500 yards at Thunder Ranch with an AR-15 and a magnified loopholed optic nearly as fast as I could pull the trigger. Allegedly, this kid got cut from his high school marksmanship team for not being very good. I believe it. I've also got a theory, my personal theory, maybe this optic was zeroed for 25 yards, which means that the bullet can be 10 inches to a foot high at 150 to 200 yards. So depending on point of aim, say in the upper chest, it's conceivable that these bullets would have impacted at, I don't know, ear level. Some people theorize he's going for a headshot. That'd be awfully ambitious. He probably just got buck fever, truth be told. The poorest choices for accessories, the Chinesium offset backup iron sights and Magpul hand stop. He's in 50 or 60 bucks altogether for those. I would have ditched them and gotten a Magpul bipod instead for $70 to give myself a more stable shooting platform. This rifle was outfitted with Magpul furniture, including a Magpul CTR stock. Pretty good, reasonably inexpensive. Assuming it didn't come in a package deal with a lower, it's 50, 60 bucks. Unfortunately, it looks like about 10 to 15% of that stock migrated into the shooter's skull. Either that or he tried some weight-saving Dremel tips he found on AR15.com. The K2 grip, also good choice, 20 bucks. In all, I'm guessing the entire package would have set the guy back about $1,100 or $1,300 depending on a couple of factors. I know it's hard to believe, but that's actually not a lot of money for a fully rigged out AR-15. I mean, look at this sad piece of shit. This is what $1,300 gets you in the year of our Lord Eugene Stoner 2024, and you guys butt blast me for $3,000 and $4,000 rifle builds. This incident unfortunately proves my point. Budget builds will literally get you killed. I've been trying to warn you guys for 9 years about not spending enough money on guns. All in all, I'm gonna give this rifle a C+. Honestly, the only thing really cringe about this build, Amazon offset irons and going with an AEMS instead of like an Aimpoint Pro. If you want to go red dot or maybe a loopholed VX series or one of those budget Trijicon LPVOs for 400, 500 bucks. Looks like a skill issue, but I've never tried to shoot an elected official, so I'm not going to Monday morning Lee Harvey Oswald this one. But if it were me, some constructive assassination criticism. We're in the safe space here, the treason trust tree. I'm going to splurge 250 bucks on a complete arrow lower with Magpul furniture, 400 bucks arrow R1 upper, 90 bucks for a microbust bullet carrier group, $10 for a GI charging handle because I'm only charging this thing one time anyways. Speaking of that, skipping the backup iron sights because the only thing I'm backing up is my last will and testament right after I wipe my browser history. Magpul bipod instead puts me at $820 total. I now have $300 to $500 to spend on the best optic I can buy, and I'm just saying things might have turned out differently had the kid made the right decisions, but that's what happens when you watch Demolition Ranch instead of TFB TV. Kidding, kidding. Too good of a joke to pass up. Love Demo Ranch, love Matt. If you're watching this, love you, baby. Yes, I know this is a sick and twisted video, but let's be honest, it's something we were all thinking about. I'm not going to apologize for hard-hitting YouTube tabloid journalism. Let me know what you think in the comments. You have $1,200. You got to make a shot at 150 yards. What are you going with? Thanks for watching, everyone. Take care.